listeners, hello, welcome back to For The Fans. It's me back hosting, so don't worry, last week was a shock for us all.
I feel better already.
Are you feel over it now, Keno? Because it was a shock to your system, wasn't it?
It did upset the balance a little bit. Like, you're so used to the way that, we spoke about it afterwards, the way the flow of our conversations work. It did make it a bit weird. I'm glad you're back.
Agreed. And this week, not only is Jack not hosting the show, Keno, you're here as normal. Everything all right? Feeling okay?
Yeah, Jack is on a special mission.
Yeah, we can't say what though, can we? Can't say what.
But fans of Jack will enjoy it when it comes to light.
Yeah, is that all we can say? I feel that's all we can say.
That's all we can say, but it's great.
But we do have a third wheel, Keno. We're not alone. For the first time in a long time, you were the new boy on the block, and today we've got. I mean, how would we describe our guest today, Keno? A YouTube personality, an internet personality more than YouTube, I would say.
I think so. An
internet phenomenon. He goes by the name of Chris Proud, better known as Proudie. Proudie, hi.
Hello, Benjamin and Keno. Yeah.
Now, Proudie, to give people an idea of what you do on the internet, just do let them know, because I feel like it's important. We've got you on because me and Keno, you've convinced me and Keno over the last few months that you know a bit about football. So... What do you do on the internet?
No pressure for me. But
we'll start with the internet, and then we'll go with your football history for a little bit.
I was so I think talking to Ben and Keno and discussing football with them. They've probably seen that I am quite knowledgeable, but I think what I'm best known for is the fact that I can use football to get a lot of retweets, which is how I base my success.
Your Twitter, your attempt to be a Twitter football celebrity is painful for me to watch from the outside, but I admire the grind that you're clearly under to make it happen.
I feel you're one of the more talented in that scene.
I hate the fact Keno's just described it as a scene. I'll be honest, but yeah.
Well, you guys introduced me to the scene.
Football Twitter. He's like one of these football Twitter accounts, but not one of the ones that's called like Totally Proudie or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Clinical Proudie.
Clinical Proudie. Right.
How many clubs do you tweet asking them to announce?
How many tweets have you asked to be deleted recently?
I think I only do it to Portsmouth. I think what was the last one? Announced League 2 title, and then we lost to Accrington Stanley. So
actually, it's a good point. We should say Proudie's a Portsmouth fan, former Premier League boys, Portsmouth. So for the first time ever, we've got different fans on each end of the microphone. So that's going to be nice. This might be a regular fixture, people, with us three. Jack might never return again. Right then, Jack, if you're listening, joking. Now then, let's kick things off. We're back again. It's me again with the feature, boys. So the jingle's back. Do-do-do-do. Now,
the good news is I can't lose to Jack this week.
You can't lose to Jack, but, Keno, Proudie will be representing Jack. So Proudie will get the point for Jack on this occasion.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the rules. I'm in charge of the feature.
The new Proudie pile of points.
No. Proudie is fighting for Jack this week. So the feature.
Surely that's a demotivation.
Well, there was two ways. Maybe there was two ways I was going to do this feature. I was either going to name a player and get you to tell me the clubs he'd played for, but I'm actually going to turn it on its head, viewers. I'm going to name the clubs, and it's fastest name first from Proudie or Keno. It's a head-to-head battle like we've never seen before. So first person to fire in.
I'm not sure how I feel about this confrontation.
Yeah, well, once you've answered, you have to wait for the other person to answer before you can have another go. That's the only rule. Okay?
Okay.
Right. And yeah, there's just a point each time if you get it correctly. If neither of you get the point, then nobody gets any points. So, Proudie, do you understand the rules?
Yeah. Right.
Keno, do you understand the rules?
I think so.
Okay, I will be saying they may well have played for other clubs, but I'm only naming the Premier League clubs that they've played for. And just to clarify, it's always 4 or more, so don't worry.
They're all journeymen by definition.
Yeah, well, the thing is, maybe you wouldn't consider them to be journeymen. Right. Yeah,
4's okay.
Right then, first player or first teams to be named. Ready, boys? First finger first. Tottenham Hotspur, Queen's Park Rangers, Newcastle United, Crystal Palace.
Oh, you throw me off with Palace.
Andros Townsend.
Point to Keno. That was early as well. Correct. Andros Townsend, Proudie. Come on, Jack's sitting at home.
Look, I'm just easing Keno into it. I don't want to destroy him too early. Okay. Me being the newbie. So.
Yeah, exactly. Right, next one. Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Aston Villa, West Ham.
Stuart Downing.
Point. And it's 1-1.
Yeah.
Levelled. Keno not on that one. Villa were mentioned there as well.
I was on that one, but I was beaten to it.
I
don't want to talk over Proudie. I don't want to make him feel, unwelcome.
Right. Okay. Next player. West Bromwich Albion, Hull City, Southampton, and Reading.
Wow.
Oh.
Can you repeat them again?
West Bromwich Albion, Hull City, Southampton, and Reading. Not necessarily in order.
Shane Long.
Shane Long is a point to Keno.
It's funny you should say that about the order, because I was about to ask that, and I had sort of Stephen Hunt in my mind. But
Any order.
Any order, okay.
Okay, next. Chelsea, Bolton, Manchester City, Liverpool.
Daniel Sturridge.
Correct. I've just realised it could have been Nicholas Anelka, but it's not Nicholas Anelka.
Wow. Yeah.
But it could have been Nicholas Anelka. He's played for those as well. So it's 3-1. Proudie, come on. Jack needs these points. After Keno took a lead last week.
It seems like when you mentioned the first three clubs, I got a name in mind. Then the fourth club comes up and I get thrown off. It's happened the last two. Yeah.
Okay, 5 teams for this one. Newcastle United, Aston Villa, Leeds United, Manchester City, Liverpool.
Oh. Milner.
Point. Proudie.
I feel, I feel a bit. Proudie should have this next one.
Yeah.
Okay. We've had quite a few Villa-centric names there.
There have been, actually, yeah.
So it's time to turn the tables.
Ah.
Okay, next player. Aston Villa, Portsmouth, West Ham, Manchester City, Liverpool. Those were both your teams.
Yeah.
Both your teams.
Can I get the names of the clubs read out again?
Aston Villa,
Yeah, I think
Portsmouth, West Ham United, Manchester City, and Liverpool.
I feel like the listeners will be screaming the names of the players here.
Potentially.
The Villa Portsmouth.
It's
Time is ticking down. I'm going to give you 10 seconds.
I have Peter Crouch in my mind, but I don't think that's right.
I mean, you can say a name. It might be wrong, though.
Who was the third team after Portsmouth?
I've given you twice.
Yeah, I know.
I've given you twice. 3, 2, 1. Not even a guess.
No.
The correct answer, he's retired, but he's a footballer.
I feel like I'm going to kick myself because...
The correct answer is David James.
Oh, no. I had Patrick
Not
Berger
quite
in
as
my mind.
obvious.
I don't know why.
Patrick Berger.
Yeah.
He played for Villa? He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did play for Villa, yeah.
Short term. Right, next. No points. Wow, point to Ben. Arsenal, Portsmouth, Newcastle, Tottenham.
Oh, Newcastle.
Who's
Arsenal
I know we've had 2 players who play for Arsenal.
Arsenal, Portsmouth, Newcastle, Tottenham. I mean, you can gamble there, Proudie, and then Keno gets a time to answer. Then you can go again once Keno's answered if you want to take that gamble.
Oh, no.
Arsenal, Portsmouth, Newcastle, Tottenham. 10 seconds left.
He's played for both North London clubs. That's what's throwing me off.
5.
Wasn't Sol Campbell, was it? No, because he's played for both. And
I think that's the one, actually.
I mean, does anyone actually say a
Sol
committed
Campbell.
guess?
Yes.
Keno gets the point.
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, yeah, he has played for Newcastle, of course.
He had a 7-game spell at Newcastle where apparently he
When
put
did
on a
he
lot of
play for
weight. Do you not remember?
Yeah, it was just
when
after
Sol Campbell
Arsenal,
put on a lot
wasn't
of weight after he'd been on holiday.
Yeah.
When he went to Newcastle for 7 games. Right.
that is news.
That is news.
I didn't know that.
Okay, we've got a few more to go. I'll be honest, Proudie. You can't win.
Okay.
But we'll carry on. We'll carry on the facade. Keno's currently got 5. Proudie's got 1. Right. Next player. Portsmouth, West Ham, Sunderland, Spurs. Silence.
Jermaine Defoe.
point.
Oh, yeah.
He's back. He's
Yeah.
regained a little bit of pride there. Right, we'll go again. Newcastle, Manchester United, Stoke, Liverpool. Where's Newcastle, Manchester United, Stoke, Liverpool? I'll be very careful in the way I read this out.
Newcastle, Man United, Stoke, and Liverpool.
A point is available.
That's genuinely quite tough.
It's a great feature this week, listeners. Welcome back, me. I mean, thank
United
goodness.
to Stoke.
And I'll be sure after last week's charade that whoever wins will actually be the winner, and there'll be no misdemeanors.
I
10.
Yeah, I'm
9,
lost. I'm
8,
lost.
7.
This is a really good
6,
one, Ben. You foxed me here.
5,
4, the others I had. The others
The
I had a
United
pretty good
Liverpool
idea.
link. It's just
1.
Yeah.
I feel like it's Michael Owen.
I mean, after the buzzer,
Yeah, I know. I just
Proudie is correct. It is Michael Owen after the buzzer.
Benny can have it. He can't win.
He can have it. All right. Well,
he can't win.
In which case, Kino, because of your generosity, I'm also going to give Proudie the opportunity to answer the tie break as well. If he wins that, it'll be a draw. So anyway, we've got one more before the tie break. The teams are Charlton Athletic, Aston Villa, West Bromwich Albion, Leeds United, and Liverpool.
Charlton.
Charlton Athletic, Aston Villa, West Bromwich Albion, Leeds, and Liverpool. He appeared in the Premier League for all of these sides.
Oh, West Brom.
What a quiz. What a quiz, everyone.
Yeah.
This is, I will say, Ben, this is one of your better recent ones.
Thank you. They're all good, listeners. FBAs.
Some better than others.
While we're waiting for an answer, listeners, remember, vote for us in the FBAs. Pin tweet on the Twitter. We're doing well. Hopefully we'll get a nomination. Then I think there's a revote, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, boys, come on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is goalkeeper Scott Carson. Nobody got the point.
I saw some highlights of a Villa game from about 2009, and I had forgotten that he played for us.
I forgot he had a season on loan.
Yeah, I forgot he was at
did.
Liverpool.
Yeah, so did he, I think.
Yeah.
Right, we'll do the final one just because it's here as a tiebreaker. Liverpool, Wigan, Aston Villa, Birmingham, Leicester.
Emil Heskey.
Emil Heskey.
Points all round. That would have been. Can you imagine the drama there, listeners? Had that gone down to it? But you are correct. So, Kino, you win this week's feature at 5-3, and you level
Not bad effort from Proudie.
And you take a 4-2 lead over Jack now. But Proudie did all right there. You got a few points on the board.
Do I really in the overall season standing?
Oh yeah, because last week I changed it round because Jack mugged me off. So
great. Yeah.
We have to change it out a little bit.
And Jack's not here to argue back, so
Jack's not here to argue back, exactly. So it remains, as said, 4-2 to Kino. What a turnaround. He had such a strong start as well. I think I just
wait till he hears this.
Yeah, well, I will never forget the pain of last week. So
listeners may not know Jack's in charge of uploading the show to iTunes and the like. Now it might not get there. Let's hope he doesn't listen to it.
Let's if you listen to this, hopefully. Right then, boys, we'll come to Proudie first. It was Chelsea 1, Liverpool 2, and the best I've seen the Liverpool side play away from home for quite some time, mainly because we didn't concede 4 or 3, like at Arsenal. But it was really, Proudie, a story of how bad Chelsea were and how well Liverpool played together. How did you see it last Friday?
I think Liverpool have stumbled across. One of the big problems with Rodgers was he bought a load of players in the same position. Like, there was so many attacking midfielders, and Klopp has somehow managed to get a system out of it. And I think there was a 15-20 minute spell in the first half, I think just before Liverpool took the lead, where they were just completely ripping Chelsea to pieces. Yeah, it was amazing to watch. And I love Klopp as a manager. I think his tactics are great. I watched them at Dortmund, but the fact that he's adapted them to the Premier League. Like, the Bundesliga and the Premier League, completely different leagues in the way they're set up tactically, and the technical abilities of the players as well. And the fact that Klopp has brought his system over to Liverpool and turned them around in the space of time he's done it. It was incredible.
I think you said that was the best Liverpool performance you've seen in a while. I mean, I can think of a few away performances like that from Klopp that have occurred in the last year, because I think it was his 1 year anniversary this soonish. He's not been here that long, and I think it's almost a year. And the Man City performance from last season is the one that sticks in my mind in the way that it resembled that. He started with a similar system, except obviously Daniel Sturridge was up front. You were quite surprised at that, Ben, weren't you? But it worked in a way that maybe it didn't at somewhere like Burnley. Obviously, it's a totally different opposition. But he didn't go with the same kind of false nine system that we've seen before when Liverpool have played that well away from home. And I thought that was interesting because it just shows how adaptable you can be, or Klopp can be, with the players he's got. And you can see that the amazing collective that he's forming now at Liverpool. It was incredibly impressive to see. I know you want to shout out probably John Henderson throughout the game in particular.
I do think Henderson was very good. His goal was obviously probably the highlight of the game, I think, for every Liverpool.
He was in the centre on his own for a lot of it, wasn't he? He was the one man in the middle.
He's been converted, essentially, he plays a role which we've not really seen too much of in the Premier League. And while people will find this ridiculous because you wouldn't ever think about this comparison, he doesn't play a totally dissimilar role to Kante with Leicester. It's not that ridiculous because Henderson sits in front and he's got the energy to get up and down. So actually, Klopp's playing Henderson in quite a similar role to that. And Wijnaldum is his Danny Drinkwater, essentially. And I'll come on to Wijnaldum because I think Wijnaldum I think a lot of people thought the price was a little bit too much. I think I got a warning from a lot of Newcastle fans that you'll get a few good performances out of Wijnaldum. But the game against Chelsea must have been one of them because I think that was understated performance from Wijnaldum.
It was one of the most surprising factors actually from this match for me, because you know that Liverpool's front four, almost whatever the personnel, is going to work really nicely together. I mean, Proudie said how well he's sort of meshed a lot of these attacking players together, but the midfield too, particularly Wijnaldum, who's played in sort of the front three at times this season. That midfield two of Henderson, Wijnaldum looked fantastic, and it totally overpowered the Chelsea midfield throughout the whole game. I think.
Yeah, I think that the issue Chelsea had in the middle, especially, was that while Kante does run enough for two players, so does Jordan Henderson. So you have those two cancel out, and then it comes down really to a battle between Matic and Wijnaldum to who has a greater grasp of the game. And I think Matic has been slightly underperforming. It's sort of since last season, really. He didn't have a great year last year. But Proudie, was this a case of Chelsea playing badly or Liverpool playing well, or was it simply a case of just them both doing like that, both of those things happening?
I think.
What do you reckon?
I think, to be fair, I would say Liverpool played, the way that basically forced Chelsea. It actually made Chelsea struggle. I mean, and Chelsea, Conte has come in, has put they've talked about three at the back, but it's been like 4-1, 4-1 so far this season, and that's a formation which is based around possession, which Conte would do. But Liverpool's high pressure and they counter press, and that's what Klopp does. They counter press, and it just works. So because you were saying about Kante. He's obviously a pressing player, but Henderson just cancels him out, and then Matic is just exposed. And Matic, I thought he played well because he was just basically cleaning up after the rest of the players, and he was looking really solid. But you just put Matic by himself, and he's exposed. And Liverpool, they played very well. I don't think Chelsea played like that badly. I think like the last 20 minutes it was probably heart and mouth stuff for you. I think you were probably expecting Liverpool to concede that inevitable second and then or the third, and I just think like Chelsea just ran out of ideas. I honestly think that, and it's weird to see only 6 or 7 games into the season that they can run out of ideas so quickly. I would agree. I'm surprised that was the case. I think going into the game, people spoke about how well Hazard had sort of been playing in the last few weeks and that he was going to be a big threat. And I thought this game, based on Liverpool's defensive incompetence in recent weeks, I could see it being a score draw. I definitely thought we'd score goals, more than one goal as well, and we did. I was a little bit worried about our back line, but Joel Matip as well, another player that's kind of gone under the radar, free signing from Schalke, of course, has played really, really well. And it was kind of a tale of the Matip and Lovren dealt with Costa quite well. And David Luiz and Cahill, do you know what the problem with Liverpool at the moment is? They don't, for teams that play against them, is that you're spending a lot of time not really marking anybody.
and then you're having to mark 4 players. So that transition between having not a lot to do to suddenly 4 or 5 players running at you must be quite difficult. And I actually thought Louise and Cahill did okay, but it's in those moments where all of a sudden Liverpool can hurt you and hit you. And speaking about the Chelsea backline, the Lovren goal, I mean,
it was dreadful.
Defending?
It was dreadful defended.
I mean, I've not seen a game. Basically, you never see that because most teams in the Premier League are quite good at defending. But
And
there's
historically
4 players at the back post.
Historically from Chelsea as well, totally out of character.
Isn't that where John Terry's a huge miss? Does that happen with John Terry? You've got to assume it probably doesn't, right?
I think
I
for
can't
sure,
see.
because
I can't. Yeah, go on, Gino.
Go. Well, yeah, I think Terry has for all his his misdemeanors and sort of the amount that people have slagged him off over the years. He gives an enormous amount of organisation that I don't think Chelsea have ever really signed a replacement for, or at least cover for. I don't think they've had a player like him throughout the last maybe decade, and it's always obvious their defensive frailties when he's not there, particularly against a decent side. And you could see the Lovren goal was really the worst goal for me, because people criticised Cahill a little bit for the clearance for Henderson's goal, obviously, but the divide between it looked like they were playing sort of attack and defence in the box, like with the 4 or 5 Chelsea players sort of close to the ball, with the 5 Liverpool players at the back post. It was really bad to see. Like I say,
comical defending, really comical defending. Overall, then, great win for Liverpool. Take the points, and I've started the season reasonably well. Played 4 away games. They've played Arsenal away, Tottenham away, and now Chelsea away, and they've come out. They've got 10 points after 5 games. I think any Liverpool fan would have been quite nervous looking at those first 5 games, knowing that we wouldn't have been at Anfield for the majority of them, and actually have done pretty well. 4 away games, 1 at home, of course, against Leicester.
There were a few sort of, silly pundits talking about Liverpool's long-term prospects, let's say. What do you think they are going forward after this decent start to the season, as you say?
I think we've got the squad to do it. There was an interesting point made on the Liverpool subreddit today that what happens if Nathaniel Clyne gets injured? Which I thought was quite interesting. We've got Conor Randall, who's, essentially, I'll say the name Conor Randall and both of you two will go, who? We've decided that, I think Liverpool's fan base have decided that Milner will have to then go play right back.
You can play 2 Milners, it's fine.
And then Moreno will have to come in at left back. But that's our only concern, that there are certain areas where if we get an injury, we're going to have a problem, and that is probably the key one. It's nice. We seem to have got a lot of options now. I think the way Klopp has, you talk about all the attacking players, it's all well and good having those attacking players, but keeping them all happy is going to be his mission. He's obviously got Coutinho, Firmino, he's got Origi and Sturridge to think about, he's got Mane as well. When Emre Can comes back into the mix, how are Liverpool going to deal with that in the middle? I've not even mentioned Lallana, who can kind of play any of those positions. I thought I had a really good game as well on last Friday. I think where my expectations are for Liverpool, they were 5th before the season. I'm looking at some of the sides around me. I'm seeing United look a little bit... I still haven't been impressed by United. I know you were in the first couple of weeks, Kino, and I poo-pooed them a little bit. But I'm not saying Liverpool would then replace them in the top 4. But if Liverpool carry on like this, I think
Spurs would have something to say about that long term.
Yeah, if Liverpool carry on like this, then I think top 4 is most certainly the target. And I was unsure pre-season. Yeah, of course. And it should be. Like, if you're going to get the points you have done so far, then it should be a realistic goal. We've only lost a game to Burnley, and we've played the champions, and then away, as I say before, away games at Tottenham, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Like, I've got to be pretty pleased with that. I think lots of people know, and you mentioned our expectations, that it won't, sadly for Liverpool fans, it won't be those games that define our year. It'll be the ones against Burnley, against Watford away, against Stoke, against Sunderland, etc. Sorry, Watford fans, you wouldn't have enjoyed that. But you see what I'm saying? It's the teams that will struggle that will cause us the most problems.
Yeah, I think we've always highlighted that, haven't we? Really?
Yeah. Shall we move on to a team that are in a very bizarre scenario? West Brom 4, West Ham 2, and what is wrong with West Ham, Proudie?
I was analysing this actually just after the game.
Excellent, that's what you're here.
It's all my research. I think a team like West Ham, who I would say they overachieved last year. It's a bit. I think a lot of West Ham fans are probably going to get annoyed about that.
On that, do you think they did overachieve?
Yeah, I think they did.
You think 6th was too high, or was it just a case of teams below them underperforming, I guess you'd say
No,
Liverpool, Everton,
I think
Chelsea.
I think West Ham they performed greatly, but they definitely overachieved. I mean, there's a lot of teams that overachieved last year. I mean, Leicester definitely the first case. Yeah, Leicester. Leicester. Yeah. No, I think the thing with West Ham is the mentality of teams changes over, on the course of, on the basis of the last season. And I think a lot of teams now look at West Ham as like a team that they, can beat, or they have to beat, not can beat. I mean, yeah, you could beat anyone in the Premier League. But they have to beat. And I feel like teams like West Brom, we've talked many a time about West Brom's, boring tactics, Pulis, like just playing really dull football, and he doesn't entertain. And the fact that West Brom scored 4 just shows you what trouble West Ham are in, because West Brom don't score 4.
I think you mentioned the mentality change of teams coming to or playing against West Ham. Obviously, they were away. The mentality will change, as Watford showed when they go to the Olympic Stadium. But I think it's also changed a little bit from the West Ham players, and I think this is. I don't think there are any question marks around Slaven Bilic as a tactical coach, or in terms of the transfers he brings in, or how he handles the match day. But obviously, as this start has shown, there are obviously question marks over his ability to sort of keep that motivation up, because West Ham, as you say, overachieved last year, and whether or not he can keep them motivated to continue to be in that kind of 9th to 6th bracket where arguably they should be with their resources and their stadium, etc., etc. Whether or not he can get them to do that, I think that's where the criticism should be of Bilic and the scrutiny. Because I think he's shown over time, throughout his career, that he's very good in a game-to-game basis tactically. But whether or not he has those man management skills, maybe to keep his newly enriched squad happy, I think is the question. Ben, is
it a simple case of he's feeling a bit of the pressure, big new stadium, and is that transcending onto the pitch? Are the players also feeling a little bit of pressure?
It's a pretty unique situation, isn't it, really?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the reason I asked the question is I actually don't necessarily think it is. I know I kind of worded that as if that's probably what I think it is. But based on the possession stats they had against West Brom, they had 70% of the ball against West Brom. They had 23 shots and 5 on target, and we can slug off West Brom until the cows come home. But they're very efficient in what they do. 30% possession, 8 shots, 6 on target, 4 goals. I mean, for a manager, you've had the perfect performance. You've not kept a clean sheet. You can see the 2 in the second half. But in terms of what they're getting for that 30% possession, that's very Tony Pulis, isn't it? It's like, we'll set up in this way. This is how we're going to play. You won't be able to break us down. And if you give us the opportunity, we'll put those chances away. And that is, Rondon's got a goal at the weekend. He is vital for them in what he offers as a forward man in the Tony Pulis side.
It's Pulis at its peak, isn't it? That performance.
Yeah,
that is.
Yeah. I will say though, Nasser Chadli, not a Pulis. I would never have thought that he would be someone that would go to West Brom as a Tony Pulis signing, but he got to it the weekend as well. He's playing well under Pulis. I think, would either of you have seen that move happening before it actually happened?
I think, actually, to be fair, it surprised me because Chadli was always on the cusp of the Spurs team. I mean, even under Pochettino, but
he always seems to play quite well for Spurs as well. I thought
he never I don't think he ever disappointed them. But the fact that he moved to West Brom did surprise me on deadline day. But I have to admit that. I was probably wrong. It's still a few games in, but I was probably wrong about that transfer. I didn't, as you said, I didn't see him as a Pulis signing either. But he has slotted into the system, and I think he offers a lot more than West Brom's, wingers normally. I mean, they got Matt Phillips on one side, who can be a tricky winger on his day. They've got Chadli on the other. I mean, and then you got Rondon in the centre, and that is a difficult to beat team right there, especially with their defence as well. I mean, they essentially play 4 centre-backs rather than 2 full-backs.
That front 3 that you mentioned, while it's not a world-beating front 3, it should be enough to at least give you a good chance in the fight against relegation, which is what Pulis specialises in and what the Albion should be competing for. And I think if, and this is where the question with the sort of the whole West Brom question centres, because obviously they've just got their new owners. Whether their new owners will be happy with just avoiding the drop remains to be seen, and I think that's really where we'll find out about Pulis's future going forward. Yeah. If they are happy, in the same way that the previous owners who appointed Pulis, if they're happy for that sort of state of affairs to continue, then he may be fine. That front three and that kind of team will continue, and we'll see more of the same. But really, the question over Pulis lies with the owners and what they think about him.
I think what I like about Chadley going to West Brom is that even when Tony Pulis sides a creative, like a sort of attacking winger, he still has to be 6'2". Which, still got to be able to head the ball. I mean, you may well be able to do a step over Nasser, but unless you can head it out from a corner, you're not signing for us.
It's quite interesting that the two of the players that Spurs let go this summer, Capoue and Chadley, have actually been
playing really well. Yeah,
playing really well. And it was there were two players, as Proudie said, two players that weren't totally out of the team at Spurs. They weren't iced out by any means. And it just looks curious that they maybe let them go to not direct league rivals, but at least teams in the same league. Because they're both playing well.
I think you mentioned Capoue. We'll talk about Watford later. Sorry, Paddy, do you want to?
I was going to say, because actually, it was going back to the Lovren point you made about the defending. I wanted to touch it. On West Brom's fourth goal, where from the corner, West Ham had a corner, and West Brom just cleared it, and they were through like before the halfway line. I was thinking, where's the defence? And it makes it's kind of like this weekend has been a show of like very poor defending for the top level of English football, and the fact that I think it was Lanzini who was running back who. I think should have even been taking the corner, but he was the one running back to defend. And I'm thinking, where's all the defenders gone? I don't know, like Masuaku, I mean, he's possibly, one of the worst buys of the season already. He just disappeared. I don't know where he went. And
not look great.
That's a strange transfer. Do you know about this project? I feel like that's sort of signing you will know a little bit about, or about like how he's come to be a West Ham player, because it seems odd.
Probably not, actually, no. It was a surprising transfer, but... I think West Ham do miss Cresswell, and I think Masuaku think is not a panic buy, but just like a cheap buy. They probably just thought, we'll just like stick someone there who can do a job, but he clearly can't do the job. I mean,
he's played every game so far this season, hasn't he? Though
he has to.
He's played every game so far this season. They bought him for like a little bit of money, but he just seems to be a little bit incapable. Which I mean, Bilic needs. Like I think I made the point actually. I don't think it was on the podcast, but it's strange to me that West Ham sold James Tompkins, who was a pivotal part of last season for my money. Like he was maybe he didn't start every game because they had some decent options at the back. They obviously brought Bono in, didn't they? Played him and Winston Reid together, but you just wonder if things get a little bit grindy for West Ham, that he's the sort of player that they would appreciate having, and he's not there. And did they really need to sell him to Crystal Palace, who this season may well be a bit of a rival in this league? I don't know. It seems unnecessary. I don't know what the reason was. I thought it was a good buy for Palace at the time as well. Right, shall we move on to Leicester 3, Burnley 0? Because that is a game which we've finally seen Leicester, with their new signings, do a little bit of good business. Slimani at the double.
Yeah, I included this in the running order because of the fact that Leicester have had a rocky start to the year overall. And of course, they had a fantastic... We didn't really talk about the Champions League, but they had a great performance midweek against Club Brugge, where they also won 3-0. It was good to see ex-villain...
Look really good in Champions League as well, Kino. I know you're a fan of the Champions League.
They did, and Michael Brighton was released by Villa 2 years prior to scoring that goal.
Oh, no.
And now he was scoring in the Champions League. And they carried that performance in against Burnley. As I say, the reason I put it in was because they seem to be reverting back to type and getting a bit of that swagger back and that belief that carried them through last year. And as you say, important that Slimani has already hit the ground running, because he will be alongside maybe Musa, one of the other options that Ranieri will have this year, almost as a luxury of winning the title. You afford yourself. You give yourself the ability to attract that kind of player, and he will be really important for Leicester to sustain that challenge across all fronts and to give Vardy a bit of a break at times too.
It costs a lot of money from Sporting, Slimani, and I think
very highly rated and quite coveted.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not like, I guess my question mark over it is, it's not like Slimani is this 23-year-old with essentially he'd be using Leicester as a bit of a stopping gap to his next club. It's not like that scenario has occurred. It's actually 28. He's come to the Champions of England. He's not played for like a major club. Sporting are a big club in Portugal, but he's not played for a major club. And he's got something that I feel like for a player like him, he's still got something to prove. So far, 1 game in the league, 2 goals. He's going to be delighted with it. And sort of finishes we didn't actually see from Leicester too much last year. I feel like they were a little bit dogged finishes. Do you know what I mean? They weren't like counter-attacking break goals where all of a sudden he's banging in like the final piece of the jigsaw. It was more like they'd worked an opening and he was the one to finish it off. Proudie?
And Burnley tried to make every sort of goal like that dogged, as you've already seen.
Yeah, I think that's the way to counter Leicester, though. Really, just give them the ball. But I think that's what Leicester had to work over the summer, because the tactic can only work for so long before teams know how to set up against it. I mean, Barcelona, won the tiki taka, and I think teams found out how to play against it, and then counter attacking basically became the norm. But now, obviously, counter-attacking is, people know how to play against it, because counter-attacking is essentially, just give the other team the ball. And if you give the counter-attacking team the ball, then they're not going to know what to do with it.
I think what's most surprising is that teams didn't figure that out about Leicester, Christmas last year. It took the entire season for teams to sort of work that out. And Burnley tried to do it. I think what was encouraging from a Leicester point of view was that Leicester were able to counter that, even when a team tried to set up with 2 backs of 4.
Where do we think this is going? Because I think the Premier League this season is taking a bit of a shift. This isn't so much going to be about Leicester Burnley as much as styles of play in the Premier League. I think we're going to kind of touch on it. I don't necessarily think counter-attacking's dead, but I do think the way in which I think Klopp and Guardiola especially are two managers that are trying to enforce this more than any other is the idea of winning the ball back and then being assertive with your possession. Keeping the ball, absolutely, but being assertive with the ball and not having these sort of endless periods where you keep the ball but you don't really do anything. They almost want it to be just a barrage of just attempts. And eventually the team you're playing against are going to tire, they're going to whittle down, and you're going to get your goal. And whether that happens in the first 20 minutes or the last 20 minutes is the difference. I think for Liverpool, they need it in the first 20 minutes. For a Guardiola side, they know by 70 minutes they're going to have a lot more of the ball. They're going to have a team coming up against them that are getting tireder and tireder. And it's their efficiency with the ball that's going to be key. We saw it from City this weekend. Yep. And Leicester have to become that, because, as you say, they can't continue with the counter-attacking style every time. It has to change.
I think the prototype for this style of play, I agree with you on that, and it's the natural kind of cycle of sort of tactical approaches. I mean, we could do a whole bloody podcast on this, but as a way of playing, or this happens in anything, as a way of playing is sort of developed or brought through, you get the counters to it, and then once they begin to cancel each other out, obviously the kind of counter-attacking style was initially the counter to something like tiki-taka. And it kind of moves in cycles like that as teams figure each other out. I think the prototype for this kind of assertive, not prioritising possession over everything else, but keeping the ball but being forceful with it. I think the prototype for that was maybe Klopp's Dortmund, but in the Premier League, Mauricio Pochettino's first Southampton, and then the Spurs team, and I feel like he probably drew on the way that Klopp organised his Dortmund team 3 or 4 years ago to do that.
Pochettino is he's a strong proponent, I think, of a manager that wants his team to have the ball, but really wants them to be efficient with it. He wants to create the chances as many times as possible.
I think the first man to really bring that to a team in the kind of all-encompassing way that now we see Guardiola and Klopp doing. It makes it a very interesting season to watch. I know you mentioned the season as a whole. Particularly as we'll kind of see exactly what Conte wants from Chelsea and how exactly he wants to go about that. We didn't really see it on Friday night because they played so poorly, but that will also be interesting.
Can I say, I think the first manager to perfect it in the Premier League was probably Sir Alex Ferguson. When you think about these great Manchester United teams, they were teams that kept the ball. They always had more possession than the other team, but it's always the way in which they used the ball. And that's the key thing. And it's arguably what Manchester United have now, I say, we'll come into this game later on, it's arguably what Manchester United now are missing. They're missing someone to be efficient with the ball and create chance after chance after chance. And we're seeing more and more in the Premier League that it tends to depend unless you're West Ham, but the more chances you get, quite literally, the better chance you have of scoring, because teams aren't, and Proudie touched on it before, teams don't seem to be as good at defending this season.
Yeah. That's going to be a big while.
That's going to be a big point. Proudie?
I was gonna. This is completely out there. This idea.
There we go. This
is my forte. No, I was gonna. What you were saying about Sir Alex Ferguson and how United played that system. I was going to say, from a psychological point of view, I think a lot of teams faltered at Old Trafford because. Back when Sir Alex Ferguson was manager, I think Old Trafford was probably the only stadium which was like 60,000 plus, wasn't it? And teams like that won't play at stadiums like that every week, other than United. United would get used to it. Teams that are visiting there wouldn't. And nowadays, you've got loads of stadiums which are 60,000 plus, so teams are getting more used to it. I think it's a bit of a weird idea, like how it is, but that's why I think teams like United are struggling because. Teams are going to Old Trafford not fearing anymore because they've got experience of playing at other stadiums which are massive and
United. I see what you. I agree with that point.
It's more like it's the idea of it's another game. It's not. Yeah. Oh God, we're going to Manchester United.
Yeah. And they knew they were going to sit back for 90 minutes and just struggle or hope for the best for a 0-0. But nowadays, teams will go there expecting to win sometimes now.
Since Ferguson retired, people, all kind of commentators have highlighted the way that they don't have that fortress anymore. That fortress kind of mentality at home. I think that is almost down to, as we've mentioned, the tactical approach of Ferguson. More so, maybe even more so than the Fergie time and the remonstrations with the ref and all that kind of thing. I think it was about the way he set out to play the game, and we see that with as I'll go back to Pochettino again. At Spurs and at Southampton, it's a very difficult place to go as an away side, and I think that is more the way that they play, more so than the fans or the manager. Well, that is a factor.
Yeah,
very interesting chat.
Yeah,
as you say, we could talk about this for hours. I feel like, but we'll move on because we're on the clock here.
A little tactical interlude in the middle of the show there. They might quite like.
I mean, Jack, take note. Let's move on then. City 4, Bournemouth 0. Actually, sorry, Jack does try to do that quite often. We're not here to just berate Jack. City 4, Bournemouth 0. My favourite stat. I'll start with my favourite stat. I shared it with you. Actually, probably you might have seen it as well. That in the first half, Jack Wilshere completed 5 passes. The first half, central midfielder for Bournemouth.
He completed all of them, though.
I don't know if he did complete all of them. I just know he did 5.
Did it say whether they were backwards or sideways? Because that must be the only way he would have.
I feel like at this point, but I'll have a check. But does one of you two want to talk about how good Kevin De Bruyne is? Speaking of midfielders.
You mentioned your favourite stat. My favourite comment of the match as a whole was Guardiola's little dig again at Mourinho. He likes landing these little sly digs in the press, saying Bournemouth are the best team that they played all season, that they came out to play and try and play against them. I love that he did that. And in that same, you mentioned De Bruyne, in that same press conference, he basically said what I think a lot of us are thinking, in that not only can De Bruyne in time become one of the best in the world, but he's probably the best in the league right now in terms of what he brings to that City side and just how good his form is. The very best in the world do it every week. Suarez did it for that whole season at Liverpool and continued to perform at just incredible levels, in Barcelona. And it will be interesting to see if De Bruyne can keep this up, because right now he's head and shoulders, I think, above any other attacking midfielder in the league.
That's too soon after Joe Hart, by the way. You can't be doing that. You can't be saying head and shoulders. Come on. No need. I say, Joe Hart didn't make an error this week. Anyone know what happened in there with Torino? No one's got a clue. Carry on, Kino. Sorry.
No, over to Proudie. He's trying to get
it's Proudie.
Take over. It's my time. I think what does amaze me about Pep Guardiola, I love Guardiola. I've read all the books about him, all this, how he his insight. I know I'm such a fanboy over Pep Guardiola. But
I think if there's a manager to be a fanboy over, Guardiola's a good choice.
Yes.
So
it's not Jose Mourinho.
He's obsessed with football, much like myself, except he's a world-class manager and I'm not.
People do say, actually, Proudie, you are the Pep Guardiola of Twitter.
Yeah, you're making me blush.
You're also a world class. You're a world class keeper as well, Proudie. On the evidence of that video that I saw.
Oh yeah. We won't delve too much into that.
Let's not do that. Blimey, come on.
It's
no
not
context.
it's for the fans, it's not the Proudie show. What does amaze me about Pep is Sterling. I think is amazing. Like how a little bit of confidence in a player can do for the player himself. Like I think Pellegrini probably didn't have as much confidence in Sterling. He didn't really
Definitely
use him in the right position. Yeah, I suppose he was forced to play him in some aspect because 50 million for Sterling, 49 million, sorry, for Sterling. You have to play him. It's and I think with Guardiola, like he's his way of thinking, with players, he likes to be man to man. Obviously, some players have like spoken out about it, like Ibra being one of them, like how he's he doesn't do it, but with the right players he can. I mean, he's done it with Messi, and he's going to do it with Sterling. He's doing it with De Bruyne, and I think this who was a player who surprised me recently. I think Iheanacho. How he's still keeping up the form. I would say he's better than Rashford. If it was between the two of them, I would say he's better than Rashford. But the fact he's slotted in back into that team when Aguero's been banned and still scoring. I mean, I think there was a stat last season where I think he had like 9 shots and he scored 7 goals from them. I thought,
he's got incredibly high conversion.
Yeah, his goals to shot ratio is ridiculous. And again, it was no surprise to me really that they played him throughout the entire game, and City looked a threat for the entire game.
Yep.
I stand by that. City need a focal point on the pitch at all times, otherwise they lose their way a little bit. And it was interesting that Guardiola didn't take him off this weekend. Admittedly, they didn't have a massive amount of options to bring on if they were going to take him off. I thought, do you see Sané in the week play quite well? Did he play midweek?
No, I know he came on.
He did have a good game.
Bournemouth, I don't remember him playing against watching Gladbach.
Well, he did.
I'm pretty sure he did. He might not have started, but I remember watching him. I've seen him recently and thought, you fit into this. It might have just been the second half. I did watch the second half of City Bournemouth, so maybe it would have just been the second half. He fits in to what Guardiola is trying to do. I think for some people it's probably a bit of a surprising signing because it wasn't like, I think people might have expected Guardiola to go back to Bayern Munich or look at Barcelona and try to cherry pick a player or two from there. But actually, he just picked a player that he'd obviously seen a lot of in the Bundesliga and has brought him in, and he slots right in. He just fits what Guardiola wants from a wide player in that area. You mentioned Sterling, you mentioned De Bruyne, both of which are playing fantastically under him. I think Sané is someone else who's just going to push those two to be better and better. A player that made a bit of an error of judgment was Nolito.
I don't know what he was thinking. I
he's
honestly,
not thinking. He's a moron.
I know. He's just he probably was frustrated. I mean, for a player like Nolito, it seems to be a bit of pressure on him. I don't know why. I mean, he didn't come in for like a massive price tag, but I think the fact that he is a Guardiola signing, that does carry a bit of pressure on you as a player. And he's not really scoring that many. Like a lot of La Liga, experts, in quotation marks, they were saying how Nolito is very dangerous when he cuts in onto his right foot and he can score long-range goals, but we haven't really seen much of it yet. I haven't seen much of it yet.
I think that pressure was the headbutt the attempted headbutt was almost the example of that, and to an extent, I can't really blame him because you're coming into a situation where if City have so many of those attacking midfielders who are world class. I mean, you can, every one of them, from De Bruyne to Silva.
Yeah, but to me, Keno, that makes it more ridiculous because he knows there's such competition. He's got a 3-match ban now. Like he started pretty much every game under Guardiola since he's come in, and to do that is just so stupid though. Like if he is feeling like he's got, maybe there's a bit more pressure on him to perform. I guess you'd say he's at a bigger club, but much higher expectations. To do that when you're 4-0 up or whatever it was, 3-0, 4-0 up against the Bournemouth side, like the game is done, 5 minutes to go, and you try to lash out and throw your head in. Like I just think, I mean. Not only is he getting a 3-match ban, I've no doubt he'll get fined by his own club for that quite a lot because it's just stupid. It's so stupid, so irresponsible.
Another point from this game, we've got other ones to mention, but another quick point from this is a player that I'm a huge fan of, Ilkay Gundogan, who made his debut, scored a goal, and looked fantastic. And I think if there's any player that sort of epitomises like this kind of football that we were describing, that Guardiola likes to play, and also if there's anyone who's a perfect partner for Fernandinho in the middle, it is Gundogan. And whether he can stay fit, he's had his injury problems, remains to be seen. And that could be the only obstacle I can see to him being a fantastic signing for City. And maybe we've spoke about Stones and Nolito on here and Sané as well. I think if Guardiola can get Gundogan playing every week and keep him fit, he can really become one of the most important players in that team. Just through his ability to play the Guardiola style. I think he reminds... I mean, I don't know how much you saw of Guardiola when he was playing, but he's not a dissimilar player to the way that Guardiola played himself.
That's very true.
A deeper lying playmaker, very good on the ball. And as I say, complements Fernandinho perfectly, with his all-action kind of play. So it was good to see him play well and get a goal.
I mean, there's not much to say on the Bournemouth side. Just quickly, obviously, they've lost 4-0. There's not much to take from it against a side that are rampant. Interesting in this game, Kolarov started at centre-back next to Otamendi. Stones didn't start. Came on for Otamendi later on once the game was won. But interesting that Guardiola is not only using what he's already got, but he's now trying to adapt that to play different roles. We've obviously seen it quite evidently with Fernandinho, making him drop a little bit deeper, sitting in front of his keeper almost to cut the ball. And now with Kolarov, he's changed him from sort of being... I think if you thought Kolarov's position might change, you might even think he'd go more attacking. But actually, he's moved him back inside. He obviously feels like he's capable to do that. Which again is another... It might prove to be another little bit of Guardiola masterstroke. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
City look scary. They've won 8 in a row.
No, they got to be favourites already. I mean, but...
No, Kino wants Conte's Chelsea to do it. So Proudie, don't make that sort of assumption.
Okay.
There's time.
There's still time. Right, a few more games to go. Everton look very good even under Ronald Koeman, don't they? I have to say, 3-1 winners over Middlesbrough, and I think there was a few. I mean, Jack's going to be disappointed. We know how he feels about Ronald Koeman, but he seems to have got these Everton boys who are now up in second place, playing some wonderful stuff, unbeaten so far.
I think we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves though, because they haven't really had a testing game.
Very true. Fair. Yeah. Tottenham opening day, but apart from that,
Tottenham. But I mean, they haven't
I feel like in that Tottenham game, they almost cancelled each other out. It was very. It was 0-0 or 1-1. It was kind of even.
I think it'll be interesting to see how Koeman sets up against probably teams that he will struggle against, or his team will struggle against. I think he's obviously Balassi was probably a signing they've needed. I think they've needed an attacking winger because they've had like Lennon, who on his he was like good like a few years ago, but I wouldn't say he's a Premier League player nowadays.
Delafeu quite inconsistent.
Delafeu is inconsistent, and
then Morales plays on the other side, doesn't he?
Yeah, Morales is a good player.
Sorry, Freddie, you mentioned Darren Lennon. Me, just threw 2 more at you. But I think you're right. They needed that on either side. Yeah. Is essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think what is the main thing is that he's got Lukaku scoring. I think we had rumours all summer about where he was going to go. It was going to be United, Bayern Munich, which I was like, they're not really teams I would associate Lukaku with. I still think he needs a bit more time to develop. I think he's only 23, isn't he? He's 23, 24.
It's crazy.
He's not that old, and I still think he needs more time to develop as a striker. There's some times where he's the same with Delafeu. He can be inconsistent. I mean, he scored a hat-trick last week. I mean, he scored he scored against Borough, didn't he? I can't remember who scored against Borough, but he needs that consistency in order to reach high levels, I think. But for a team like Everton, if you've got Lukaku happy and you've got him scoring, I mean, it's all rosy for them. So
Lukaku scores. You're right in the sense that Lukaku is quite streaky. He's obviously we all know how many goals he can score across the season, but he tends to get them in little bunches and then have a few games where he doesn't, contribute quite as much, and then have another run of 5 or 6 games where he scores 5 or 6. And he sort of does that across the year. They've obviously got him in one of his purple patches right now, and whether he can sort of keep that going consistently remains to be seen. I think the Balassi point is a good one because, as we mentioned, Morales is on the other side. Lennon probably won't play a part now, and Deulofeu is of course still young and inconsistent. And the Everton fans seem to have taken to Bolasie from what I saw from the game on Sunday, on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? God, I can't remember. Saturday. They seem to have taken to him brilliantly and really enjoying him. And I think Bolasie at the top of his game is a fantastic player to watch, just because you don't know what he's going to do next, and he's always so exciting to see.
Little nod to Gareth Barry as well. 600 games.
I should say, I did want to mention that because a player who's quite close to my heart, I think I should say. 350 of those were at the Villa, and he was sort of one of my heroes growing up. So, would
you say he's there was the conversation this week that he's one of the most underrated players in Premier League history for what he's actually achieved within the division.
Absolutely, and while I think that Barry seemed to fade in people's sort of consciousness after the World Cup debacle, where he
Germany game. Germany game.
And I think that was a dreadful game for his reputation, and he almost sort of slipped out of people's minds when he continued to turn out pretty decent performances for City and then Everton in those sort of 5 or 6 years since then. I mean, how old is he now? Sort of mid 30s. He was only pushing 30 at that point, so he had a lot of football ahead of him. And he's gone on to double that, 350 figure almost. So it deserves a lot of credit for that. That after that kind of moment where a lot of pros, after a moment like that, it can be very easy to not, to let your head down and maybe not make the most of the rest of the potential that you've got. But he's done that. So it's an incredible to see. And one of only 3. I mean, this stat's been trotted out all weekend, but only. I think Giggs and Lampard have made more appearances than him.
Yeah, and only 9 Premier League clubs have made more appearances.
Pretty incredible
in the Premier League, and he's got himself a Premier League win as well. So certainly, I think you would consider him sort of when he's gone almost a bit of a Premier League great in many ways. Strange, isn't it?
Yes, it's a weird one for me.
Definitely underrated.
Yeah.
Should we talk a little bit about the foul on Martin Stecklenburg? What did you think of that? For the Negredo goal.
As a keeper,
you're both keepers, aren't you? So
we've got some knowledge there.
Yeah. I would start with the keeper. Like I feel like he got fouled because a lot of this has been made up over the years. I mean, it's not only this season. It's I think it's 10 to 15 seasons about overprotection of keepers, because there'll be there'll be a lot of times where a corner will come in and the player will just bump the goalkeeper and the foul will be given. I mean, it's pretty much like that. And it's weird because, like, Stecklenburg, obviously, he should be catching that. But when you have a player, like, putting pressure on you like that, and Stecklenburg can't, he can't defend himself, basically. His arms are in the air. So, Negredo's coming in at him. I don't know how the referee didn't give it. I really don't know how the referee didn't give that. I mean, it's a foul all day long, in my opinion.
Ben?
And, yeah.
Do you think he's got? I mean, it's hard to say. Do you think Stecklenburg's got full control of the ball?
Well, the ball is going into his hands, like.
Yeah, but I mean, does that matter?
Yeah, well,
I feel as though it was in his hands.
Yeah, it was actually. I think if you watch a slow-mo replay, I'm pretty sure he had the ball in his hands, and then Negredo comes in and like Stecklenburg basically throws it. But I mean, that is a foul. Like,
I agree.
So
on that.
Yeah,
Ben.
Yeah, all right, fine. I mean, Proudie is a keeper after all. So how can we argue with it?
Ben, we just want to see the law applied. We just want consistency.
We just want to see the law applied. I'm just thinking about other England careers that have been ruined by one game. Paul Robinson. I can't believe what happened to you, mate.
Harry Kane. Sorry.
Yeah, Harry Kane. Blimey, that's a bit early. It's an early shout for a career ruined. Right then, final game we're going to talk about in a bit more depth is Manchester United and Watford. I mean, we'll start with Watford, who I have to say
we should do.
I think Jack's kind of a bit of a lover of Watford this season. It's not that we wrote them off. I feel like it was more so we just listened to their fans, who were very pessimistic about the hopes and dreams for this season. But to come out against Manchester United, and we spoke about it earlier, but Capoue, he's one of the most informed. Has he got the most points in fantasy football or something so far? He's one of the most informed players in the division, and he's having a wonderful time. For you. Are you going to check it for me? He's having a wonderful time. I'll do it. I'm on this.
I feel as though, as we mentioned, with Chadley...
He is, it's true. It's confirmed.
Most points.
44 he's got so far.
I mean, some people wait a season for 44 points.
Lucas Leiva hasn't got that in his career.
As we mentioned earlier, with Chadley, he was a player that was, while not playing a lot at Spurs, never really had dreadful performances. And I think, put into a side that maybe values him a little bit more, puts a little bit more emphasis and gives him freedom to go forward, you start to see the player that from, I think, where did they sign him from in France? I forget the exact club. Was it Bordeaux?
No, I can't remember.
Toulouse? It might be Toulouse.
But I remember when he signed up and watching those kind of performances, which would sort of be like Vieira-esque, marauding forward. They're the kind of things that he can do. And he could be an incredibly important player for Watford this year, to be able to keep them not just free from relegation, but to maybe drive them on. Because Mazzarri, is a manager who's used to having his teams near the top of leagues historically, of course in Italy, and he won't want to have a relegation fight on his hands. I think maybe people underestimated that when he took the job at Watford. It was quite a coup for them to get him. While people talk about maybe the one-dimensional nature of his management and that he was very limited at Inter. Other than that, he's had a pretty good record, a good CV. And it showed, and they were fantastic in this game. And we saw everything that Mazzarri likes to make his teams. They were incredibly hard to break down. They were physical when they needed to be and broke with speed. And obviously, we all know about Dini and Igalo and what they can do. And when they fit in this kind of system that Mazzarri likes to play, and that mentality, it suits them down to the ground because they were superb.
Yeah, I'd agree. Proudie, anything you want to say on Watford?
I think it just surprised me every season how they can buy 12 to 13 players, then still play football and still look like a team that's been playing for years. I don't know how they do it every year. It's ridiculous how they do it, but if it works, the thing is, if it works for them, they should carry on doing it. I mean, just keep selling all their players and then buying another team next season. I mean, who knows who's going to come into Watford next year? So probably have a new manager by then as well.
Could be you, Proudie.
Yeah, it could be me. It could be me. Yeah, it could be me. I mean,
we should put that. That could be a campaign. That's our next campaign. Forget Charlie Austin. It's all about Proudie for Watford.
Yeah, I think. It's just. I think Watford are definitely one of those teams who can carry on surprising you every season. And I think, a lot of them probably had them as favourites for relegation. But
yeah. Well, we talked before when it came to Liverpool-Chelsea that was it a case of one team playing well or one team playing badly? And I dare say Watford made Manchester United play quite badly. Manchester United didn't help themselves though. And
we've been building up to this, haven't we?
I feel like we're at a point now. I especially feel like this on the podcast that I can't really say anything more to discredit Wayne Rooney's footballing career. But the first half that he's had against Watford, I mean, really the whole game, but especially the first half, is just bizarre from a player like Wayne Rooney.
Sunday League-esque, that's what I call it.
The thing is, right, I don't disagree. I will set this stall out, as I seem to always have to do when talking about Rooney. I don't disagree that for a time in his period, he's one of the best players in England, if not the best English player for a good probably 6-7 years. But in the last 2 years, I would say, I genuinely said this on the podcast. I genuinely think this, and I said this on the podcast last week, that I don't think it's that he's in a bad patch of form. I just don't think he's as good as he used to be. And I'm kind of sick of hearing this, form's temporary, class is permanent. Well, to a point it is. I bet Maldini's still not. Actually, I tell you what, I bet Maldini still is pretty good. But there are players that have retired that I still don't think could do a job because class is permanent. Do you know what I mean? There becomes a point where you do lose what made you that great player. And I mean, for example, Gaza ended up at Boston United.
Ended up making racist jokes at Wolverhampton Civic Hall.
I'd like to say that allegedly, but sadly, he's terrible for saying that.
Do Do you think
Guilty.
Do you think the Rooney situation is down to the fear of dropping him? Because
Proudie, I keep hearing, mate, that there's a clause in his contract that says he has to play.
Yeah.
Who at Manchester United is signing that?
Well,
who's signing that off?
I think like I could see it happening for England because he still gets into the England team. He's a Nike athlete.
That's not even contracted, is it?
Well, you know, they did that with Ronaldo apparently in the '98 World Cup, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing it for Rooney. So, it's weird. It's a weird one.
I think Manchester United fans are beginning to turn. I think it's taken a long time for them to sort of... I feel like there's been quite a lot of naysayers of Rooney, especially because of his England form, since sort of the tournament before last. But we're at a point now that Manchester United fans can see, actually, that if you're going to spend 89 million on Paul Pogba, play him in the position where he's best, and that's arguably the position that Wayne Rooney's filling currently. Because I think United have got a lot of tools to make them competitive. You think about the way their team is, it's not particularly balanced. Rooney is essentially taking the position of Paul Pogba. You move Pogba forwards, you bring in a Schneidlin, you maybe play Herrera next to him. As I know Paul Scholes was asking where the hell is Michael Carrick. It's strange that it's like, because Carrick obviously signed a new contract, could have left this last summer. It's strange that Mourinho, a man that has in the past said to certain players, look, he did it with Lampard. He moved Lampard on. He said, look, Lampard, you're not fit to play here anymore. We're going to have to move you on. I don't know if he's waiting for when we need to get into the last year of his contract or what it is, but from my understanding, it's like Rooney's holding Manchester United to ransom. And that might be a bit harsh, but at some point, for the greater good, Rooney's got to be dropped. And I think fan opinion will kind of suggest that they wouldn't necessarily mind seeing what a Manchester United without Wayne Rooney looks like.
I think the past 12 months have sort of taught us a little bit about Mourinho that we didn't know, or at least we didn't associate with him, for the last 10 years or so.
He's got the second highest losing ratio in the Premier League right now, for the last year.
Yeah, not just losing. I think he's won 7 out of his 21 games, last 21.
Yeah.
Not just that, but also the way he's handled two quite similar dressing rooms. I don't know if they're similar actually, but the way that he's handled these two scenarios with obviously the event that kind of ripped Chelsea's season apart last year from sort of the Hazard, Eva Carnero thing onwards, and then also with this Rooney situation now, like it does look as though he's being told from on high that he has to play the player who's on 300,000.
That can't be going on. I refuse to believe it though. I refuse to believe that's what's going on.
I think it's all sponsorship. I mean, considering how much Man United have made, I think they recorded record profits, didn't they? Like even though they weren't in the Champions League, so
they did. And this is what I'm saying. Maybe it's revealing something about Mourinho that we've never seen before, in the fact that he's actually, where for years we've said, he doesn't bow to anyone. He's all about the win and that kind of thing. Maybe something is up. That we're having these bizarre kind of conspiracy conversations because Rooney's just been so bad. He might be dropped for the next, indefinitely from the next game. But I doubt that will happen. And while it goes on, and while he has that clear impact on United's performances, and continues to, we'll have to raise those questions because he is not playing well and hasn't played well for a few years now. And I think the point that's always made that his body clock as a player was started so early at the age of 16. I think it ticks over. It's at least prime 2 or 3 or even 4 years ago, and actually we're seeing a player that should be in his late 30s rather than early 30s.
I touched on that last week. Do you think though is it? I mean, because a lot of people do say that people are being too harsh on Wayne Rooney. In which case, you look at the management, and is it a case then that Mourinho isn't adapting? So, like we talked about earlier, is Mourinho capable of adapting his style, which has been very successful and was successful for about 10 years? Is football changing, and is Mourinho just not adapting? Because it's not just a Rooney form issue; it's arguably Mourinho's form isn't very good right now. So where is the majority of the blame resting here? I feel like it has to be with Mourinho being the manager. He's still picking Rooney, no matter what the contract problem might be. I mean, if that is the case.
To an extent, you can't really blame Wayne Rooney. It's not his fault that maybe he doesn't have the form or the fitness or the. I mean, maybe
he's not. I think it's important to say Wayne Rooney's not trying to play badly. No. Like I'm not criticising Wayne Rooney for exactly throwing Manchester United matches, but this is Manchester United. This is a club that are expecting to be winning titles, and they're not going to do it if they carry on bowing down to him.
He's the captain as well, and when you're a footballer and you look at your captain and you see him playing badly, then you're not going to have any confidence. Like on the pitch, it will make a difference. I was going to touch upon I feel like Rooney is also being played because United have been known for playing players for a long time. I mean, Giggs, Scholes, Carrick now. Until they're like late 30s, and I feel like, or late 30s, early 40s, and I feel like they're trying to do the same with Rooney, but obviously a lot of us can just see Rooney as he's gone downhill so fast, and it's sad to see as a player. I mean, at the age of 30, you don't want to see a player like Rooney like dropping that fast off the radar, but
I don't enjoy seeing Rooney play quite badly.
No,
it's not like I like watching it. I know he's a Manchester United player, and you might think, you're a Liverpool fan, of course you want to see him play badly. Not particularly, because it doesn't really impact me. In fact, it probably makes England's chances of success less. So I want to see him playing well for the sake of England. And when he's not, it's just a pity. I don't think he knows his best position. I don't think he really has a best position right now
anymore.
And the solution falls on Mourinho to figure it out. And I mean, from a personal standpoint, I do think it is pushing Pogba forward, getting Mkhitaryan on the right, Martial on the left, using those two to the best of your ability, having Zlatan through the middle, and bringing Wayne Rooney on with 20 minutes to go and letting him see out his Manchester United career in that manner almost. And
I don't think it would be an undignified way for him to do that, because he can have.
He's had a great career. Like, he's had a fantastic career. No one's going to be looking at this going, this is going to ruin his legacy. Absolutely not. He's had a terrific career as a Premier League footballer. I don't think I think there's a lot can be said for that. But yeah, congratulations for Watford. 3-1 win. Manchester United, very early days. But early signs look like things need to change a little bit.
Worrying.
You could say that for a lot of clubs, to be fair. Shall we go to the listener question? I might actually ask you to the listener question as well, if you want. Just to be fancy.
Well, we are technically listening, so.
Yeah, true. Yeah. The listener question this week was: Jordan Henderson scored the Premier League's greatest ever goal against Chelsea. If you had scored a similar goal, how would you celebrate? So, do you boys want to think of an answer while I read some out, or do you want to?
We'll go at the end. Yeah. We'll go at the end.
Have you got one ready for me, Proudie?
No, I'll think of one. So.
Oh, you'll think of one.
I'll think of
one. Okay, we'll go through a few then. There's been again. I've got a hats off to the listeners. They've come in their droves. My favourite answer, very simple, from oh my god, it's my mum. Just put with a slice of cheesecake. I just think that's nice. Yeah, nothing fancy.
I would like to see that happen on a pitch. He runs to the corner flag, hand in cheesecake.
Well, this is the thing, and I'll work my answer in now, because that was very similar to what I was going to say. Obviously, today you wouldn't need to hide any cheesecake down your sock or keep it on the bench, as we saw. Maybe Gutierrez used to do with his mask, things like that. You just get a drone.
Ferdinand used to have Jaffa cakes.
Yeah. Get a drone.
Drone delivered cheesecake.
And this is exactly what my celebration would be.
Hell.
Was that, I score a goal like Jordan Henderson, I run to the centre circle, and down comes, as we saw, was it a Bradford, I think? A game was stopped from a drone. We see a drone come down onto the centre circle. It has whatever prop I want to celebrate with. Okay, in this instance, cheesecake, like an Amazon Now type thing.
Yeah.
You pull it off and you make use of your cheesecake, or,
use of your cheesecake. Eat it, people. That's what I would suggest.
Eat it, whatever you fancy. Put it in the keeper's face. It's
good.
Up to you.
All right, Proudie, keep thinking, Proudie. We'll come to you.
Right, I've got an answer, but
I'm going to read some more listener ones out, because they matter more than you. Football Empire, dab, because then apparently you're worth 100 million. Which, harsh, but so I enjoy turnips. I talk about it on the podcast, which we'll have to invite you on, but fair enough. We've got some quite, I wouldn't say generic ones, but some quite nice ones. Kiss the Badge, obviously, which I thought was quite good. It's Claytification, George put Shearer-esque, simple, effective, which I like. Very, very succinct. Go on then, Proudie. I'll look for some more as you tell us what yours is.
No, I think my favourite celebration of all time, and I would love to copy it one day, because I can't see myself playing at a very high level, like if I ever did. Hopefully I'll play in a stadium, you know, four stands around. There's not, you know, terracing or anything. And there will be an empty stand. I'll put one right in the top corner, run into the stand, sit down, and then clap my own goal. That's how I would celebrate. There's a video of it on YouTube, actually. A guy did that against FC United, I think. And he ran into the stand. It was completely empty. Sat in the first row and just started applauding his own goal. And I thought, yep, that's how I would celebrate. Because, I big myself up.
Well, I mean, each to their own. Alfie's got a great one. Because there's been a lot of talk about this recently. Go into the commentary box and commentate over the replay because Martin Tyler wouldn't do it justice. Yeah, Martin Tyler's getting a lot of criticism at the moment.
Yeah, did he do the Chelsea game? Was it him for the Chelsea game?
I know, because he said what a goal, and that was it.
He didn't enjoy any of the goals. None of the goals that he supports
Manchester United, so he doesn't like fun.
I was going to touch upon this because I've watched a lot of Liverpool goals over the years when Martin Tyler was, commentating, and he shows so emotion. I think the Risa one, which that free kick he scored, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Goodness gracious me! Like that commentary. I mean, you look at that one. I think Neil Mellor, a few years ago against Arsenal. That was another one which
a few years ago. It's 10 years ago. So he's still celebrated one Liverpool goal in 10 years.
Well, there's been a lot. The Gerrard one against Man United, which was from 30 yards.
All right, Proudie, stop this.
He's done a few.
Not defending Martin.
All right. I think it was compared to the Anthony Martial. Welcome to the Premier League. It was a bit, we got one from James who put run up to the advertising boards and start kicking them like Tamiri Kitspire. I mean, I'd love to see that return. That's always nice. We've got a few more. Nathan has just punched Diego Costa in the face.
Well,
so he's got to be on the pitch to do that.
Less of a celebration, more of an aggressive mark. Dylan James apologised to every manager and fan. Of the opposite. Let's start again. Apologised to every player, manager, and fan of the opposition team while going.
That's really good.
It was good though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I quite like. Just sort of. I could picture them just shaking hands, going, "I know, I'm sorry about that for you. That it was top corner, wasn't it?" So it's credit where it's due.
It's what you call a humble brag. So
it is.
And then finally, we got one question. We got one reply from his Twitter account is called Chicken Permission, but he said, "Wow."
Name.
He's put, "Wow, Premier League best goal ever." Guessing Keno didn't write this one. Correct, it was me. Right then, that brings us to the end of the show. Proudie, it was an absolute pleasure having you on this week. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
He's been on for a marathon one this week. It's longer than we normally get with Jack.
Yeah, I enjoy. I'm enjoying
it more, Keno, to be honest, mate. I don't know.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun with another guy.
If you ever need, a third wheel ever again, I'm more than happy to appear.
He's just
are you doing this? We're still recording, right? I
know. Yeah, I just put it out there, but I'm just putting it out there in case, or someone else listens in. I think that Proudie would do well.
Oi, we don't mention them.
I'm using this as a shop window.
I'm bleeping it.
This isn't a loan spell, from your Twitter, from your tweets.
It's a trial,
right? But no, seriously, Proudie, thank you for coming on. We do appreciate it. You never know, you might be back again. Keno, let's run with Keno. He was on once. He was a full-time fixture. Yeah. Keno, pleasure as always.
Yeah, as always, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Jack will be back next week, I hope. And you can find us on the socials. Twitter.com/ForTheFansShow, YouTube.com/ForTheFansShow, ForTheFansShow.com for all the available links. And of course, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube listening in general. Of course, vote for us in the FBAs. There is a tweet on our Twitter. Click that. Vote for us. If we win,
we'll definitely be spamming it this week because there's a week.
If we win, I'm doing Keno, do you want to promise something? I've promised that I'll do an entire show of features.
Well, I'll have to go and receive the awards. So that's my promise. I'll go and get it.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. You've been listening to For The Fans. Thank you very much for listening, and we love with care from Needle to Benji. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Of a gold Benji. It's perfection. Keno, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.